Welcome back. You're watching NewsX. I'm Aashutoshsrivastava. Top focus of this bulletin, the presidential race. After hectic deliberations, the BJP central leadership on Tuesday picked Draupadi Murmu as the NDA's candidate for the upcoming presidential polls, which are going to be held very shortly on the 18th of July. Murmu, a former governor of Jharkhand and a former Odisha minister, is pitted against the opposition's joint candidate Yashwant Sinha, a former BJP leader and a former union minister who quit the Saffron party and is now a vocal critic of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He quit the party several years ago after being apparently sidelined within the party, with Draupadi Murmu set to become India's first tribal president after the NDA-led government announced her name for the post. Congratulatory tweets has been pouring out on social media. The presidential elections are scheduled for July 18th. All right, to discuss this further, what really do the presidential elections mean? The implications on Indian politics to begin with. Why are the presidential elections so important? Who is Draupadi Murmu? What her nomination means for the BJP? And is it really the conclusion of these presidential polls? Is it really literally a foregone conclusion, considering with, of course, YSRCP, the BJP has been able more or less to cobble up the numbers? We'll discuss all of this and more. I'm being joined by PKD Nambiar, political analyst. Also with us is Aashutoshsrivastava. He's a senior lawyer. Sanjay Verma, senior journalist, also with us. Arvind Mohan, consulting editor of the ITV network, with us. Karan Verma, political commentator, with us as well. Morning to you, gentlemen. Let's open this up for discussion. But before that, let me go across to my colleague Rakesh Singh. He's bringing us the latest. Rakesh, Draupadi Murmu is going to file her nominations today. Take us through what we can expect in the course of the day today.
देखिए, सारे एनडीए के नेता और एनडीए शासित राज्यों के मुख्यमंत्री जो हैं, इसी बिल्डिंग में, मेरे पीछे ये बिल्डिंग देख सकते हैं, ये पार्लियामेंट की लाइब्रेरी बिल्डिंग है और यहाँ पर सभी सांसद, एनडीए सरकार के मंत्री और बीजेपी शासित और कहें एनडीए शासित राज्यों के मुख्यमंत्री जो हैं, इसी बिल्डिंग में हैं और यहाँ से प्रधानमंत्री का इंतजार किया जा रहा है। प्रधानमंत्री अब से कुछ देर बाद जो है यहाँ पहुँचेंगे और उसके बाद जो कि एनडीए की जो उम्मीदवार हैं राष्ट्रपति के, द्रौपदी मुर्मू, उसके बाद जो हैं ये मेरे दाहिने ओर यहाँ पर आप देख सकते हैं कि गांधी मूर्ति है। गांधी मूर्ति पर माल्यार्पण होगा। उसके बाद अंबेडकर, BR अम्बेडकर की मूर्ति है, यहाँ पर जो है माल्यार्पण किया जाएगा और साथ ही साथ बिरसा मुंडा का ये गेट नंबर 4 है। गेट नंबर 4 के और आगे जहाँ पर जो है सामान्य आदमी के लिए यहाँ पर जो है प्रोहिबिटेड है, यहाँ पर जाने का किसी को इजाज़त नहीं है, प्रधानमंत्री का गेट है, तो यहाँ माल्यार्पण होगा। उसके बाद जो हैं सभी सांसदों और एनडीए नेताओं के साथ जो हैं प्रधानमंत्री अगुवाई करेंगे और सीधे SG यानी राज्यसभा सेक्रेटरी जनरल के कमरे में जाएंगे और वहाँ पर नॉमिनेशन जो है औपचारिक रूप से दाखिल किया जाएगा। तो आप यहाँ पर देख सकते हैं ये गेट नंबर 4 और इसी गेट से जरिए जो हैं सारे एनडीए जो के सांसद, एनडीए राज्यों के जो मुख्यमंत्री हैं, वो इसी रास्ते जो हैं ऊपर जाएंगे और वहाँ पर जो नॉमिनेशन दाखिल किया जाएगा।
All right, Rakesh, thank you for bringing us all these updates. Now we'll open this up for discussion and try and understand really what the presidential elections mean for India. Who exactly is Draupadi Murmu? What her nomination really by the BJP could mean for the opposition candidate. In fact, as far as Mr. Sinha's candidature is concerned, is that literally a non-starter, considering it won't be so difficult for the BJP to cobble up the numbers, or considering really with the YSRCP, BJD and others, they definitely, it looks like, already have the numbers. Let's discuss all of this and more. I'm going to start first of all with you, PKD Nambiar. Mr. Nambiar, of course, Rakesh, my senior colleague, was bringing us the latest information on how Draupadi Murmu is going to file her nominations today. While, of course, it's going to be covered on every national television channels, the visuals are for everyone to watch. End of the day, it's a masterstroke by the BJP and nobody can deny it. By choosing Draupadi Murmu as their presidential candidate, the BJP has made the opposition candidate, their campaign, all of that a complete non-starter, completely decimating and destroying the opposition's plans.
Absolutely, Meenakshi, good morning. I'll tell you, this is a very, very interesting stuff. Over the last 10-15 days, or even maybe almost a month, we were all discussing about that who would be the potential challenger for an NDA candidate, which were not even known to who could be that candidate. But if you remember that Sharad Pawar taking the lead, Mamata Banerjee taking the lead, all the 17 party delegations meeting in Delhi and putting up 3 candidates' names, the Gopal Krishna Gandhi, Farooq Abdullah and Sharad Pawar, his name was also thrown. But to an utter surprise, they were not even able to find an ideal candidate. And finally, they could get only one candidate, which is Yashwant Sinha, who is an overexposed. He has been a hopper when it comes to for the power, whether it is with BJP or even before that, multiple parties and now into Trinamool. So I think it's a one-sided with Draupadi Murmu coming as the candidate from BJP is just further added the shock to the already divided or a confused opposition. So I would say the decision of selecting this candidate has got much more, many more importance than the typically a presidential candidate. When I said typical candidate, means there are in an election there are always one main candidate and an opposition candidate. That's the usual one. But with Draupadi Murmu coming into the picture, it has completely changed the way we look at the first citizen of our country. There is no doubt it's constitutionally the head of our government or the authority, the one who will be heading all our 3 services, the defense forces, and that too coming from a tribal background, from an Orissa. And from the moment you say Orissa, that means Orissa and Andhra, it's almost like the neighboring states, and they have a lot common. YSR have naturally become a part of the, for that. And Biju Janata Dal, they cannot cannot even think of going against a candidate, that too from a tribal candidate from Orissa. So in a way, it is really a master stroke. And much more than all of this, we need to understand the politics of Narendra Modi and the BJP of today. Always going not from the conventional method, always unconventional, very dynamic. Even with when Ramnath Kovind was selected, it was again a surprise package. So I think the way Indian politics is been changing so fast, and BJP is leading in every possible way, and this election and this candidature is going to further cement that thought process of a dynamic politics rather than the monotony of the courtier politics or the family politics is over. So it is, I would call it like it's a social, her candidature represents a social empowerment. Her candidature represents the entire tribal community across the country, which is almost 22% plus of the population. It's in almost in every, whether it is in Gujarat or Orissa, every state in the country have got a tribal community which has never been a part of our mainstream politics. And Draupadi Murmu coming is this woman empowerment, social empowerment, and overall recognizing the tribal community as a force. I think it's a different kind of a politics altogether, and it's an easy way, and there is no challenge. Yashwant Sinha can't even come close to what Draupadi Murmu is. She has already become a sensation, and Yashwant Sinha is almost a forgotten, never a hero.
Yes,
it was never a hero.
Aashutoshsrivastava, if you could come in here. Yashwant Sinha, perhaps, of course, he's been a vocal critic of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The opposition would have thought that he's one candidate who can really unite all these parties who are ideologically very different. But when it comes to a real competition, the numbers are stacked heavily in favor of Draupadi Murmu. Mr. Sinha, as of now, it doesn't look like he stands any chance. Do you think his campaign literally would be a non-starter now?
I will have to explain it in details.
Okay,
First we have to understand what is the election process of a president. Article 55 of our constitution talks about the election of a president. Now, the president is elected by the elected members of both the houses of parliament, that is Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, and also by the elected members of all the legislative assemblies, and also by the elected members of the Union Territory of Delhi, Puducherry, except Jammu and Kashmir, which is being ruled by the president as of now. Now, considering all this, around 776 MPs are there, all parliament, and their vote value will be 700. I'm coming to that.
Yes.
So their vote value is 700 per elected member, and that goes to around 5,43,200 something. And if we consider the state legislative assemblies, then also the total vote value of around 4,033 such elected members, it goes to like 5,43,231. So totally the vote value required is 10,86,000 in total. Now, if we see, the BJP has around 48.9% of the vote value in comparison to the, the opposition and the regional parties, which totally counts to 51.1%. So now the regional parties will play a very, very important and crucial role. Now, talking politically, as we know that if we can consider as an example like JDU, which had voted Congress candidate Mr. Pranab Mukherjee when they were with NDA that time, and later when they left the NDA, then also they voted for Mr. Ramnath Kovind, who was nominated by the BJP. So the regional parties have changed their view so far as the election of president is concerned. So now here it is very important.
I know, sir, but if you look at the regional parties as well, it looks highly unlikely that the BJP is not going to support Draupadi Murmu. The YSRCP has already said that they are going to back the NDA's candidate. Look at a Jharkhand Mukti Morcha as well. Reports coming in that they also could possibly rethink their support to the opposition candidate. End of the day, she is a tribal woman. The fact that her background, her political and social background itself is so appealing, it's going to be difficult for these regional players to oppose it. On what grounds do you oppose a candidate like this?
Absolutely. The chances of Ms. Draupadi to be elected as the president is very, very high. That cannot be denied. BJP has a lot of votes so far as the parliament is concerned, or even if the state legislative assemblies are concerned, and they already have the support of many of the regional parties. So it cannot be denied that when the BJP supports or nominates any candidate for the presidential post, it is almost a confirmed kind of a position, and it will be very difficult for the opposition or maybe for the regional parties to completely go, because the vote percentage, even in that case, considering BJP and all the other opposition and regional parties, is hardly any difference left. So with 1% of the difference, I don't find that it would be anyway difficult for Ms. Draupadi to be elected as the new president of this country.
And it looks like Aashutoshsrivastava, that she is going to be the next president of the country. Ajay Verma, what do you think of Draupadi Murmu being elected as the next president of the country? I mean, when you look at the opposition's candidate, perhaps they thought that it was a dexterous move, but the BJP, really nimble-footed as it is, has completely smashed and destroyed not just the candidate, but their entire campaign as well. Huge embarrassment for the opposition, but it was sort of expected. What does really, according to you, sir, as a senior journalist, Draupadi Murmu being elected as a president mean? End of the day, she does represent, a certain section which has never got an opportunity to hold such an important position in our country, however symbolic, but certainly it has its significance, isn't it, Ajay Verma?
Exactly. See, Draupadi Murmu belongs to the Santhal community, which has its roots in Orissa, Bihar, Jharkhand. A part of Bihar I'm talking about. After separation, and that is the Jharkhand formation, only a part remained with Bihar. That is Santhal Pargana area, a part of it. West Bengal for that matter. And she comes from a community which had never got that kind of a representation. This is the first time such a big representation has been allowed, or for that matter, offered to a community, which is something of a masterstroke by the party in power. As far as the numbers go, the present number, if you see, Draupadi Murmu ji has already got the support of 52% of the members of the Electoral College. BJD has come out in support.
What about the JMM? And I'm sorry I'm interrupting. You have to expedite this. Sorry, sir, I am interrupting. You have to expedite this a little because we have another very big breaking news which we will be reflecting very shortly. And I want to include all the guests on this discussion as well. Arvind Mohan, sir, as the consulting editor of the ITV network, would you like to, sir, simplify this for our viewers? I'm not asking the procedure by which the president is elected. We have explained that through our telecast multiple times. Help us understand really where does the number game stand, sir, and how Draupadi Murmu has a very clear edge over the opposition candidate, Mr. Sinha.
देखिए, द्रौपदी मुर्मू का चुना जाना कैंडिडेट अभी गांधी के सपने का पूरा होना है। गांधी ने कहा था कि किसी दलित लड़की को मैं पवित्र दलित लड़की को, निर्दोष दलित लड़की को राष्ट्रपति के पद पे देखना चाहता हूँ। और मुझे लगता है कि द्रौपदी मुर्मू निर्दोष वाला जो गुण है, दलित और या आदिवासी महिला होना एक बात है, और निर्दोष होना, अब तक मेरे ख्याल उनके खिलाफ कोई चार्ज किसी लेवल पे आया नहीं। तो उस हिसाब से ये गांधी का सपना पूरा होना है, राष्ट्रपिता का सपना पूरा होना है, और मुल्क के एक बड़ी आबादी को, जो यहाँ के मूलवासी होने का दावा करते हैं, उनके क्लेम को एक्सेप्ट करना है। और उस हिसाब से ये नरेंद्र मोदी का या बीजेपी का मास्टर स्ट्रोक है। लेकिन इसके बाद भी मैं ये कहूँगा कि अब तक ये सिंबोलिज्म हमने प्रेसिडेंट के चुनाव में ही किया है काफ़ी सारा। सिख को बनाना, दलित को बनाना, औरत को बनाना, मुस्लिम को बनाना, ये सब सिंबोलिज्म प्रेसिडेंट के मामले में हुआ है जी। और के आर नारायणन को छोड़ दें तो सारे जो सिंबॉलिक लोग हुए हैं वो सिंबॉलिक होके ही रह गए हैं। प्रेसिडेंट का काम प्रेसिडेंट हो जाना नहीं है, प्रेसिडेंट का काम कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन की रक्षा करना है। और उस मामले में जो नॉन सिंबॉलिक लोग हैं, जो सामान्य पॉलिटिक्स से आए, पढ़ाई लिखाई विद्वता में लोग ऊपर रहे, अपने अपने फील्ड में काफ़ी काम किया, उन सब का रिकॉर्ड बेटर है, मैं ये मानता हूँ। तो एक मामले में द्रौपदी मुर्मू अभी परीक्षा उनकी होनी है, उनके बारे में फैसला करना या कह देना अभी मुश्किल है। लेकिन मुझे लगता है कि सिंबोलिज्म से जो भी प्रेसिडेंट बने हैं उनका कामकाज कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन की रक्षा नहीं है। वो एक सिंबल बन के रहे हैं और जिस सरकार ने उनको बनाया है उस सरकार के काम में मददगार ही रहे हैं। अब सरकार के काम का अनिवार्यतः विरोध करे प्रेसिडेंट, ये जरूरी नहीं है, लेकिन प्रेसिडेंट की जिम्मेवारी सरकार की नहीं है, प्रेसिडेंट की जिम्मेवारी कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन की है और वो देखना ज्यादा महत्वपूर्ण है। लेकिन मेरे ख्याल से जैसा द्रौपदी मुर्मू का रिकॉर्ड है और जिस तरह की पर्सनालिटी उनकी है,
however symbolic, as I said, Karan Verma, it does attach a significance. I mean, look at her background, a tribal woman being the first president of India. It's certainly a matter of pride for all of us, and that of course is one social portfolio which had not gotten an opportunity to be the president. If you look at past presidents as well, we've had a Tamil Muslim, we've had of course people from the OBC, the SC, ST community as well, all that representation. We've had of course a woman president as well. Why not? And of course again, as I reiterate, however symbolic, certainly very, very significant that this time around we're going to see a tribal woman lead the country. Karan Verma, can you hear us? Okay, we seem to have lost that line now with Karan Verma. PKT Namdiyar, sir, would you like to take that question? Last time, I think you were making that point when I had to move to the next guest.
Yeah. Meenakshi, what you said is absolutely right, that it is a matter of pride. Now, we all can have a difference of opinion and our liking with regard to each candidate or each president. Some people say Abdul Kalam, the great Abdul Kalam was the greatest president. And I believe that even Pranab Mukherjee was equally a great president. Our first president who became the two-time president, that is Dr. Rajendra Prasad, he was equally good. So everybody played a major role in protecting our constitution, and I don't want to discredit anybody. But the only one thing I will tell you, there are times there are presidents which are people's president who go all out and show themselves. So it's all depending upon the personality of that person. As far as their primary job of protecting the constitution is concerned, irrespective of whichever the president is not an individual alone. President is a constitutional office which comprises of anything and everything of this country represents. So I believe that this, as you said rightly, Meenakshi, that this representation of a tribal woman becoming, today we are calling her in this TV show as a tribal woman. The moment she becomes a president, there is no more a tribal president. She is the president of India. She is the president of you, me, and the 1.4 billion people of this nation. So I believe that it is every community, and I always, in multiple programs, even in one of the social justice ministries program, I said that the tribals are the real Indians. Forget about the Aryans and Dravidians and everybody. So they belong to this nation.
Absolutely, sir. It is social representation which was much needed. In fact, if time allowed us, I would have liked to discuss the political implications of the same, because for the BJP, it's a masterstroke. The presidential elections to begin with were a foregone conclusion, but it also is likely to yield and reap benefits in the upcoming polls as well, because it does woo a certain section of the community. In fact, reports are coming in as well that JMM could possibly reconsider the support it was giving to Yashwant Sinha. So certainly it is multiple birds with one stone. That really is the benefit with the BJP gains from the same. It's a masterstroke, nobody can really deny that. Draupadi Murmu, going by the numbers as they stand in the Rajya Sabha, in the electoral college rather, it does look like that Draupadi Murmu is all set to be the new president of India.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.